There are moments in life where something you have always wanted is finally within reach, and you choose to let it go anyway. Not because someone asked you to, not because you felt obligated, but because the people around you needed it more, and somehow, that was always going to be enough for you. Last year, my family finished building 2 new rooms in our house. For the first time in my life, having my own room was actually possible. I had been sharing a room with my grandmother for as long as I could remember, and the idea of finally having a space that was entirely mine was genuinely exciting. But then I thought about my grandmother alone in that room in the middle of the night with no one beside her if something happened. And I thought about my mother, who had been sharing a room with my older brother for years and deserved her own space far more than I did. So I gave the room to my mother, and I stayed. Not because I had to, because the moment I thought of them, the decision made itself. Some characters take seasons to reveal themselves. Sugawara Koushi from Haikyuu just needed one conversation. Not gradually, not across seasons of buildup, not through a dramatic match-winning moment, but in a single quiet conversation between a player and his coach that most people watched and immediately moved past. One moment, and everything about who he was became permanently clear. Sugawara did not wait to be benched. He did not fight for his position, lose, and then accept the outcome gracefully. He walked up to the coach himself before any decision was made and handed his starting position to Kageyama voluntarily. In his final year, knowing full well he might never start another game again. And the only thing he asked for in return was to be available when the team needed him. That is not kindness. That is a philosophy so deeply lived that it did not even require a moment of hesitation to act on. And I understood it the way I understood it, not from the outside looking in, but from somewhere much closer than that. There is a specific kind of selflessness that does not feel like a choice in the moment. Because by the time the moment arrives, the question has already been answered by who you are. It does not announce itself. It does not ask for recognition. It simply moves. I think about the way I walk in a group, always at the back. Not because someone told me to, not because I calculated that it was polite. It is just where I end up, automatically, every time. Because something in me has always assumed that the people ahead of me belong there more than I do. I think about how I spend my money on Christmas, how I handled every situation where something I wanted was in direct competition with something someone I loved needed. The outcome has never really been in question. I do not say this as a statement of virtue. I say it because it is simply the structure of how I operate. And for most of my life, I did not fully understand it well enough to name it. The moment I watched Sugawara approach Coach Ukai, voluntarily before any decision had been made in his final year, and tell him to play Kageyama without hesitation, I felt something I was not expecting to feel. Not admiration, recognition. The specific, quiet recognition of watching someone else do the thing you have always done, in a situation where the cost of doing it was real and visible and entirely their own to carry. I had lived that feeling. I had never seen it reflected back at me so precisely before. And the reason it landed so precisely is because what Sugawara carries is not what it first appears to be. What Sugawara embodies is not selflessness in the conventional sense. That framing is too small for what he actually represents. The more precise term is ego-transcendence. The conscious surrender of the personal spotlight not as an act of sacrifice, but as an expression of identity. And the difference between those two things is everything. Sacrifice implies a transaction. You give something up and you carry the weight of having given it up. There is loss inside it, and usually, underneath the loss, there is at least a quiet hope that someone will notice. Ego-transcendence is something else entirely. It is the condition of a person whose sense of self has never been located in the spotlight to begin with. Sugawara does not step back from his position and feel the absence of it. He steps into the version of himself that makes the collective most capable. And that movement feels, to him, like completeness rather than compromise. This is why the scene with Coach Ukai lands the way it does. Sugawara does not wait to be asked. He does not wait for the decision to be made and then accept it gracefully. He walks to the coach and removes the hesitation himself. Because the team's probability of winning matters more to him than the personal cost of initiating his own replacement. That is not a small thing. That is the entire architecture of his worldview made visible in a single action. And it would be easy to mistake this for passivity, for someone who simply does not want things badly enough to fight for them. But Sugawara loves volleyball. This is not a character who stepped aside because the game did not mean enough to him. It meant everything. His final year meant everything. He simply held something else at a higher value than his own presence on the floor. And that ordering was not something he arrived at in the moment. It was already the settled structure of who he was. The Nekoma practice match did not create Sugawara's ego-transcendence. It revealed it. The philosophy had been running quietly the entire time. In every practice where he supported Kageyama's development rather than resenting it, in every moment he put the team's coherence ahead of his own visibility. The conversation with Ukai was simply the moment the philosophy could no longer stay invisible. It had to be acted on. And he acted on it without flinching, because there was nothing inside him that needed to flinch. Which means the question is no longer what Sugawara believed. It is what that belief is actually asking of the rest of us. Most people measure the value of their contribution by how visible it is, by whether they were the one on the floor, the one in the meeting, the one whose name is attached to the result. That measurement feels natural because visibility is legible. It is easy to track, easy to point to, easy to use as evidence that you mattered. But it is also a design that makes your sense of worth entirely dependent on being seen. And the moment you are not seen, the moment someone else takes the position you believed you deserved, the structure collapses. What Sugawara demonstrates is a different architecture entirely. One where the question is not, am I visible, but is the collective succeeding? And where your contribution is measured by the honest answer to that second question, not the first. It is a harder architecture to build because it requires a level of genuine investment in other people that most of us talk about more than we actually practice. But it is also a more durable one, because it does not break when someone else gets the credit. The person who lives this is not absent. They are not invisible. They are the reason the room functions the way it does. And the people in the room, on some level, know it. They just may not always say so. Sugawara did not need them to. He was the player who understood this the most, and he was the bravest one to fully embrace it wholeheartedly. Sugawara never needed the stage to know he belonged in the building. His worth was never stored there in the starting position, in the match point, in the moment everyone turns to watch. It was stored somewhere quieter than that, in the decision made before the coach asked, in the pass set up for someone who would outshine him, in every small act of presence that made the people around him more capable of becoming what they were meant to be. Most people spend their lives trying to become the main character of their own story. Sugawara already knew something they have not figured out yet, that the most powerful role available to you is not always the most visible one. Sometimes the greatest thing you can offer the people you love is the full weight of your absence from the spotlight, placed exactly where it is needed most. He did not step back. He simply became completely what he had always been.